Give us a break. Don't try anything you're about to see us do at home.
On this trucking episode of MythBusters, we've got 3 big stories about big rigs.
That is crazy!
First up, there's the dynamometer of death.
This is the coolest toy ever!
Adam and Jamie test the gory story that a truck tire blowout can knock your block off.
Wow!
Then buckle up as the team takes on the Night Rider.
I just hope the car still works when I get my turn.
Adam and Jamie ask, can you ramp it up on the highway?
55.
And finally, Carrie, Tori, and Grant put their lives on the line.
It's getting dangerous now, and that's how we like it.
As they find out if drafting increases your fuel efficiency.
Oh my God!
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage
Is everybody ready for diving?
and Jamie Heineman.
Gets me all worked up just looking at it.
That is beautiful!
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience.
That was heavy.
Joining them, Grant Imahara,
Jamie makes it look so easy when he does it.
Tori Belleci,
Somebody order some exploding pants?
and Carrie Byron.
High explosives and electricity. Woo!
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test.
We have a killer of a myth, literally.
Bring it on.
Well, you're in a vehicle alongside a semi-trailer truck, and the myth is that when the tire blows, it's such a powerful explosion that it'll not only break your windshield, but also decapitate you.
That is perfect and right up our alley.
Tires can sure turn nasty. Overpressurize them, and the results are explosive. But if you're unlucky enough to be alongside when a big rig tire blows, would you literally lose your head?
Dynamometer. Now, I was thinking this is a perfect thing for spinning our truck tire up to speed, except that nobody west of the Rockies is willing to let us blow a truck tire anywhere near their dynamometer. We're going to have to make our own.
Why don't we do it MythBusters style? We'll say get a really powerful old pickup truck and yank the bed off of it and drive the pickup drive wheel up to speed just underneath the truck tire, and that'll take the truck tire up to speed, and we're there.
Let's do it.
In a typically ingenious plan of action, Adam and Jamie will build their own supersized dynamometer. They'll sink a pickup truck, lower a big rig onto the spinning wheels, and put Buster in the firing line.
In 3, 2, 1.
And the first step in taking Buster's block off with a blowout is paring back this pickup.
We cut the sides off this truck because we need to expose the drive wheel. The drive wheel is going to provide the power to turn the big semi-trailer tire. So we need to get at that wheel. We've got everything else out of the way. We'll put the semi-trailer on top of this and fire this puppy up and see what happens.
Jamie makes it all sound so easy, but at the Shobogun range, the reality is that this is an enormous undertaking.
Our trailer's going to go here. Our pickup truck's going to go there.
The pickup's drive wheels need to spin at more than 50 miles an hour. But so that it can't go anywhere, the MythBusters must sink its tires into the ground.
Dude, give it more gas! Well, hell, that ain't no truck no more. That's a dynamometer.
With the dyno fired up, next the boys need a big rig to put on it. And this should do.
Yeah! I've just secured our big rig trailer to the biggest forklift we've ever used on the show, which is rated to 30,000 pounds. It's not only a safety precaution, but it's also a key part of the experiment in allowing us to adjust how much pressure is actually on the big rig's tire.
With the forklift locked and loaded, the trailer is lowered into position. And once the two tires kiss, everything's ready for a test.
Look at that.
Their dynamometer may be ugly, but it works like a charm.
That's what you call the ghetto dynamometer.
So now it's time to burn rubber and blow this big rig myth sky high.
Seems fine.
Yeah, I agree. We get it up to speed. Boom, do it.
The big rig myth that we get to test happens to be one of the most popular topics on the fan site. Have you guys heard of drafting?
Oh, that's when you try to get up as close as possible behind a trailer of a big rig to save fuel. Yeah, the idea is that the big rig slices through the air, creates a low pressure zone in its wake, and you need less fuel to move your car. I've always wanted to try it, but I just never had the nerve. I was afraid that the driver was going to slam on the brakes.
Following a big rig dangerously close may seem like an insane way to pass time, but according to fans, it can actually save you money. The theory is that the closer you tailgate a truck, the more you'll decrease the drag of air resistance, and the more fuel you'll save.
Before we go full size with this myth, I think we ought to do a few small scale tests just to see if there's anything going on behind the big rig aerodynamically.
If we're going to test aerodynamics, I know NASA has a wind tunnel. I'd be happy to go call them and see if they'll work with us.
In the past, the team have constructed their own wind tunnels for testing.
That's exactly what we're looking for.
But this time they're going straight to the big guns, NASA.
And the idea is that the wind flowing through here is very even and steady. We're going to blow smoke through over our model big rig, and if we see that smoke collecting at the back end, that indicates a low pressure zone.
With the high-speed camera primed to catch the action, it's all systems go for the smoke and wind. To the naked eye, it's hard to see a pattern, but things become crystal clear on the high speed. There's an obvious dead zone, a protected area where the oncoming smoke doesn't reach, protecting any following car from drag.
Smoke was gathering behind the truck, which proves to us that there is a low pressure area. What we're going to do now is take a car in the same scale as the truck, attach it to a force gauge, and then see what kind of effect that low pressure has on the car.
But just before that, the team first needs a baseline. So the truck is removed from the track to see what the force of the oncoming wind is like on the car alone. With the smoke off, it may look like nothing's happening, but the wind is roaring past the car at over 50 miles per hour. And Grant gets a reading.
Okay, so it looks like we got a good baseline. Definitely. 0.142 pounds. And that is just the wind on the car alone.
So that's the control. The question now is, will this figure reduce with a semi shielding the airstream?
We're now a full 7 car lengths away. Do we have any drag whatsoever?
We have 21% drag reduction.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
For Carrie, that was the wow factor. So how about when the car gets dangerously close? First, they wind the truck in to decrease the distance to 5 inches, or 10 feet if this were full scale.
All right, so we're at 10 feet. That's a 60% reduction in drag.
Whoa! That is insanity.
All right, we're at 6 feet away from the truck.
That is ridiculous.
I don't think I'd want to drive that close to the back of a truck. Let me tell you, you might want to reconsider. 80% reduction in drag. You know,
Oh my
definitely
God. Let's go to the suicide zone.
All right, let's go to 2 feet. What are we reading? You know what's crazy? We're reading 93% reduction in drag. Are you serious? Yeah.
It's an astounding result. But would this actually translate to fuel savings on the open road? Well, there's only one way to find out. The team will have to go full scale and test this myth for real.
This is great evidence for us to go on to the full-scale test.
Absolutely. We need a big rig, we need a car,
And we definitely need to investigate this further.
And we need a crazy driver. Who's that going to be?
Later.
Can we use this ramp to get into this big rig at highway speeds?
But before all that, the boys bring out the big guns on Buster.
That's a hit, man. Nicely done. Welcome back. The myth we're testing is if you're driving alongside a big rig when its tire blows, can that exploding tire kill you or specifically behead you? So, this is our big rig suspended in midair by our 30,000-pound forklift. We are going to lower this down onto our dynamometer. I know it looks like a pickup truck, but in fact it's a dynamometer. It'll spin up to speed. Spinning this wheel in the correct direction, we are going to make this tire fail by hell or high water, and that failing tire hopefully will knock Buster's head right off his body.
The reason we're using a motorcycle here is because this is a worst case scenario. Obviously on a motorcycle you're a lot more exposed. And so if a big tire like this goes off, while we could have put a car there, we figured this is the nastiest thing we can do with this particular experiment.
Things are only going to get nastier for Buster, because to blow the tire, Adam and Jamie are going with the direct approach. That's the shotgun.
We're using a standard 12-gauge shotgun with a deer slug in it. The deer slug is actually one of the heavier bullets that is available in any kind of normal civilian weapon. It'll penetrate the tire, and the big question here is whether the air inside the tire is enough to actually make it rip or do something violent other than hiss.
And what we're hoping, if everything goes really well, what'll happen is that slug will enter the tire right about here and compromise the radial. That's the steel wires that run around the perimeter of the tire. Once that radial gets compromised, if the gods are shining on us, this thing will open up like a zipper and fail in a magnificent fashion, slicing Buster's head right off.
That's the theory, but in case the impact is not enough to sever Buster's head, the team has an injury monitoring backup.
Our crash test dummy has shock watch stickers, so by looking at which one of these gets tripped, both on his head and on his torso, we'll be able to see what kind of damage he sustains during his tire accident.
With the dynamometer spinning, it's time for the magic bullet. Of course, this isn't a typical way for a truck tire to blow, but this should result in the catastrophic failure that this myth needs.
Okay, this is tire blowout, shotgun shell, revving the engine. That's a hit, man. Nicely done. I heard it go up.
Yep.
But that was not the catastrophic failure we wanted.
Jamie was right on the money, hitting the tire dead on, but there sure was no explosion.
That's a neat hole. It's right there.
That's the hole?
Well, that ought to tell us something. I mean, that bullet's that big around. You know, they don't get any bigger than that, and it hit it clean right in the sidewall. It had to hit some of those cables. That was full pressure. It was a perfect hit, so.
The high speed shows the moment of impact as the slug pierces the tire. But Buster's white-knuckle ride is unaffected. To get a tire explosion, you're going to need a plan B.
We have to come up with a new plan, because what we're doing isn't working. These tires are super crazy, incredibly resilient.
Supposing you're silly enough to tailgate a truck, would this dangerous stunt really improve your gas mileage? Tori, Grant, and Carrie's wind tunnel tests have given this myth the thumbs up, in theory.
That is so much more than I expected.
But what about in practice? Time to go full scale.
We should drive at different distances behind the truck. We'll start at 100 feet and move our way up to 2 feet and see if we save fuel as we get closer to the truck.
2 feet seems really dangerous. Who's going to drive?
I think Grant should do it, because he just had his middle name legally changed to Danger.
Mount Dangery Mahara. I like the sound of that.
The MythBusters also like the look of the impressive beast they've lined up for their full-scale test at the Portland, Oregon headquarters of one of America's leading rig makers, Freightliner.
We've got this new Cascadia Freightliner here. It took 2,500 hours to shape the aerodynamics of this truck to make it the most fuel-efficient truck in the world. It's a brand new truck, and we're anxious to get it out on the track again and help you with that myth.
Test engineer Matt Mark Staller reckons drafting is suicidal, especially considering how many blind spots are on a big rig. But he's agreed to help out under controlled conditions, which include a thorough workout for Grant, under the tutelage of Hollywood stunt driver Mike Ryan.
We actually want to build all the way up to a 2-foot distance between us and the truck. How dangerous is something like that?
Definitely something you don't want to encourage people to do. I mean, I think the statistic is about 3/4 of all the truck accidents in the world that involve a car and a semi-truck that have a fatality were caused by the person driving the car. It's pretty scary.
So what I'm going to do right now is put a line across the track. That's going to be their starting point. I'm going to drive down 1/4 mile, put another mark. Then we're going to have a 1/2 mile to see how much fuel is being used.
It's on this 1/2 mile of track that the team will measure Grant's fuel consumption. And that's test engineer Andrew Smith's department.
What we've got here is our data acquisition system, and we're hooked up to the fuel injection system. In fact, what we're doing is exactly the same as if we were physically measuring the fuel that's going to the engine. We're recording all of that, and we can compare when we're behind the big rig and when we're not.
Once the fuel gauge is in place, Grant will make several runs behind the rig at 55 miles an hour, working his way incrementally from 100 feet down to 2 feet. But first up, it's the baseline.
This will be our control test. I'm going to drive along. We're going to measure data for 1/2 mile. And I'll see how much fuel I'm using with nothing in front of me.
With Andrew riding shotgun, Grant puts the pedal to the metal.
Okay, approaching drag strip. Holding at 55. Still holding at 55. Approaching the stop. That's it.
Andrew crunches the numbers, and it turns out that driving at 55 miles per hour on the test track gave a fuel consumption of 32 miles per gallon. Will drafting really cause an increase in MPG?
We're going to do it at 100 feet, 50 feet, 20 feet, 10 feet, and 2 feet, which I consider somewhat suicidal if you were driving on the highway.
3, 2, 1, go.
Grant starts out at a distance of 100 feet behind the truck, but even this is considered outside the safety zone for most road authorities, who recommend at least 150 feet between vehicles traveling at 55 miles per hour.
Crossing the finish line now.
Okay, so that was a good run at 100 feet. Maintained a constant distance at 55 miles per hour.
And the result is pretty dramatic. With 100 feet between car and rig, fuel consumption improved by over 10%. Next, Grant gets back up to 55 miles an hour and closes the gap to 50 feet.
We're going to hold this speed. You can collect your data now.
With this size gap, fuel consumption improved by 20% on the control. Grant moves in even closer to 20 feet. This is starting to get hairy.
Starting to approach that blind spot. I can't see him from you.
At 20 feet, the slipstreaming effect of tailing the truck has improved fuel efficiency by an amazing 27%. But what about tailgating a big rig at 10 feet?
It's getting dangerous now, and that's how we like it.
Later.
That is crazy.
Grant earns his stunt driver stripes the crazy way.
That was crazy.
But next,
We want to know if this tire will behead this biker when it blows up.
in the wrong hands, tires can be downright dangerous. But can they kill if they explode? Well, for Adam and Jamie, getting a tire to explode in the first place is proving somewhat troublesome.
But that was not the catastrophic failure we wanted.
So to try to turn a tire torpedo, the team is next going to replicate the last moments of a tire that's done way too many miles. And subjecting another tire to high heat and low pressure should do just that.
Yeah, we need to heat it up with the external heaters, and we need to really reduce the PSI so that we can get the tire flexing, because that adds heat as well.
Flexing is responsible for most blowouts on highway trucks. If air pressure is too low, the rubber wobbles or flexes, and this flexing can cause rapid, explosive disintegration.
We've got heaters posed on both sides of the tire, and the idea is to bring the overall tire temperature up as high as we can get it with them. We're going to start off slow, kind of like a chicken on a spit, and we're going to try and roast the tire. And we'll be looking at this on the thermal imaging camera, and hopefully somewhere in there, with all that flexing and all that heat, we'll get a catastrophic failure.
Once the new tire is inflated to 30 psi, a quarter of its usual pressure, the dynamometer is ready to roll.
Well, we're rotating the tire under stress. It's been going for about 5 minutes, and it's already at 150 degrees. That's the external outer temperature of the tire. We know that the tires start to attain their failure mode around 350 degrees. So that's where our butter zone is going to be in this, hopefully. We just got to see how long it takes to get there.
But unfortunately, even after 10 minutes, the butter zone has not been reached.
No, it's capped there. It's just sticking around 200.
Although heat failed to fire up the low-pressure tire, all is not lost, because the MythBusters have another trick up their sleeves. Will suddenly over-pressurizing the tire result in the biker beheading thereafter?
In this line, it's 150 psi. When I hook it up, it's just going to pass that onto the tire, and if the tire is sufficiently weakened, it's going to blow. Exploding tire, hopefully. Final test. In 3, 2, 1. Come on, baby! Come on.
There we go. That was it.
That was it? It looks just like a zipper.
It opened up where you cut it.
But it didn't propagate.
No.
No.
It didn't really. That wasn't very satisfying.
That wasn't what we're looking for here.
This time the tire did fail, but it still didn't fail catastrophically. With this myth deflating fast, Adam has one final plan.
Well, we've seen the blowout. Let's put it under a little pressure on the bottom tire and spin it up to speed. See if we get some shrapnel out of it.
Adam reckons that if the burst tire spins long enough, something's got to give. And sure enough, as the dyno picks up speed, rubber shrapnel soon starts flying far and wide. But have any of these tire torpedoes toppled our Wild Hog Buster?
This is the coolest toy ever! Pull over!
Although rubber shrapnel did get flung, none of it hit our biker. So what does this mean for the myth?
If we look at the footage from that camera over there, you'll see one of the large chunks of rubber that flew about 200 feet in that direction.
I watched one piece go like maybe 70, 80 feet straight up. We need to actually find out what happens when you do get hit.
Yeah, we need to make it a non-random event. We need to make a rubber chucker. We need to make something that chucks large chunks of rubber right at Buster's head to see what kind of damage it'll do.
But before all that, it's time to get kitted out with another myth.
Okay, so what do we got now?
Well, I've got a big rig myth of my own. Have you ever seen the show from the early 80s called Knight Rider?
Yeah, wasn't the car intelligent or something?
It was. Do you remember how that car came in for repairs?
Yeah, he drove it right up into the back of a big rig.
At speed.
Yeah.
I want to know if that's really possible, or if when your 60-mile-an-hour drive wheel hits that ramp, boo, launches you right into the container.
Well, wear your seatbelt.
I will.
Before the Hoff was the Hoff, he was the Knight Rider. And his ride? Well, this four-wheeled black beauty was smarter than your average car. And if it needed running repairs, there was the famous high-speed entry into the team's mobile HQ. But in real life, once you hit the ramp, wouldn't you suddenly accelerate and catapult yourself through the cabin?
You know, obviously we're going to go full scale, but I think we ought to go small scale first. Let's get like an RC car and a running treadmill and just do the whole experiment in miniature first.
Okay.
Yep, it's the patented MythBuster bench test. In this setup, Adam builds the scaled-down remote control car.
Yeah, look at that.
And Jamie vandalizes a treadmill to replicate the rolling surface of the highway. Ingenious.
The treadmill here represents the road surface. We have a miniature representation of a truck. We have a miniature car. So the main thing that we're looking for here is what happens when the car makes a transition fully from the road surface onto the truck. If it were to do something like a wheelie or just spin out of control, not get traction or something weird like that.
As Jamie said, the crucial moment is when the tires of the car get traction on the ramp. At that point, both vehicles are traveling at much the same velocity. But once it hits the ramp, the car is now moving at speed, and in comparison, the truck is stationary. And the theory is, without a special effects department, wouldn't that cause it to accelerate out of control? But that's just the theory. How about the practice?
Ready? Yeah. There you go.
No need for practice. In a break with MythBuster tradition, there was first-time success with a small-scale test.
We've been thinking that the moment those back wheels traveling at this speed hit this ramp, that car goes fa-ching.
The high-speed camera confirms there's no fa-ching factor. The RC car slid into the trailer as smooth as you like. And even without brakes, its entry was slow enough to prevent a serious fender bender with the back wall of the big rig.
So, I don't know about you, but the small-scale experiment really gave me a lot of confidence that this might actually be possible.
Yeah, and when you think about it, you know, the car's got a lot of inertia, and for this to crash into the back of the semi, it'd have to all of a sudden be going, you know, twice as fast as it was. It's got to really accelerate.
Well, I mean, the only thing for us to do now is to go full scale.
Yep.
Let's get to building a ramp.
Okay.
Still to come.
That's a nice maneuver.
Knight Rider goes full scale.
Dude, that was scary.
But first, Grant revs up for the ride of his life.
I think if you were going to try to draft a big rig, you are completely mental.
Give us a break. Don't try anything you're about to see us do at home.
When driving behind a big rig, if you're too close to see the truck's mirrors, then the truck driver can't see you. That's why drafting is so dangerous, not to mention illegal. But as Carrie, Tori, and Grant have found out, this suicidal driving technique does increase your miles per gallon. At a drafting distance of 20 feet, the team has seen their fuel efficiency increase dramatically. But Grant Danger Imahara laughs in the face of his middle name. With Mike riding shotgun,
Okay, I'm buckling up.
he's going to tailgate a truck at 10 feet.
I think if you were going to try to draft a big rig at 10 feet behind them, you are completely mental.
Even in a controlled situation, it's really, really scary.
We're ready.
All right, let's go in 3, 2, 1, go.
Go. 35.
One more shift and then you can do it.
Okay, we've hit 55. We're holding steady. It's completely in their blind spot, and we can't see him at all.
The recommended driver reaction time for this speed is 2 seconds, meaning 150 feet between vehicles. We're still with you. At 10 feet, Grant's reaction time is down to almost 1/10 of a second.
Sweet driving, Grant.
Okay, returning to the start.
It may be madness, but the stats don't lie. With a distance of 10 feet between car and truck, fuel efficiency improves by almost 40%. But this myth ain't over yet, as Grant prepares to draft at the insane distance of 2 feet. At 2 feet, one miscalculation, and our MythBuster will be 6 feet under.
This is it. The car is 2 feet behind the truck, and they're going to be traveling at 55 miles an hour. I mean, this is nuts.
I'm a little freaked out right now. I mean, we did a lot of training, but that was with the minivan. This is a big rig.
All right. You ready? Let's do it.
All right, man. I'll see you on the other side.
It was nice knowing you.
What's not nice knowing is if the rig has to stop suddenly, Grant will have 3/100ths of a second to react, faster than the blink of an eye.
2, 1, go.
Okay, here we go.
Can't even see Grant.
Just hit 55. What's your 20, little buddy?
We're 3 feet out and closing. Just bringing it on in. We are locked into the 2-foot.
Oh, you are totally in our blind spot, completely riding us.
Matt at the wheel of the big rig can't see Grant's vehicle at all.
That is crazy. Yeah, boy.
He just crossed it.
Yes, he does.
Oh my God, that was crazy. I mean, how much gas am I gonna save?
Well, the result comes with a twist. Up until now, every time Grant's vehicle moved closer, fuel efficiency increased. But at 2 feet, it went down.
The fuel economy actually dropped off a little bit. And I think the reason was there was such little air drag at that point. It was so hard to keep that 2 feet distance that you were always kind of feathering the throttle, getting on the throttle, backing off. And so that actually hurts fuel economy. You want a really steady foot.
So apart from nervous footwork on the accelerator, when Grant drove like a maniac, it looks like drafting, as dangerous as it is, does improve fuel efficiency after all. But really, it's just not worth risking your life for.
Dude, nice job. You got nerves of steel.
Thanks. You know, it was really intense, but we got a great result.
You know what? Surprisingly, at 2 feet behind the truck, it was less fuel efficient because it's so difficult trying to keep that distance between you and the truck.
Yeah, difficult and crazy.
But did you know that even driving at 100 feet is dangerous? Our researchers found that at 55 miles an hour, the minimum safe stopping distance you should allow is 150 feet.
All right, so what are we going to call this one?
I think we have to call this one confirmed. You do save fuel drafting behind a big rig.
But it's absolutely not worth your life.
You think what Grant did was crazy? Wait till you see me drop behind a big rig on my bicycle. Go to discovery.com/MythBusters. Check it out.
Up next,
Gentlemen, start your engines.
the night ride in rubber meets the road. Incredibly, Adam and Jamie have had reason to doubt the Hoff. They're questioning the signature stunt from his Knight Rider days. Can you really drive up the ramp of a moving big rig, or is it a mythical maneuver? To find out, they followed Carrie, Grant, and Tori to the Madras test track in Oregon.
So we've already done this test in small scale in the shop, and the small scale test really made it clear that this might actually be feasible, that the car's inertia would keep it from doing what we thought it might do in the worst case scenario, which is to shoot up that ramp and right into the big rig in a terrible wreck. So we've come here to try it out full scale and see if we can do it safely.
It's a simple recipe. Take one big rig, one 1980s sports car, and ramp them up at highway speeds. And not just any ramp. Adam and Jamie have custom built their own. After all, it's their lives at stake.
And not an inch to spare. The ramp seems like it's perfect. It seems to be just long enough to do the job and not really hit much on the car. It does a little bit, but it seems like it clears everything just barely. So I think we're good to go.
We're hoping to get up to highway speeds, but we're going to start slow. 30, 35 miles an hour is what the first test is going to be at. If that works, then we go to 55.
The question now is, who'll be first in the driver's seat?
If Adam doesn't die during this experiment, or maybe if he does, then, I'll have to have a go. But at any rate, Adam will be the first guinea pig, and if it seems okay, I'll go in.
So Adam, the human guinea pig, suits up for the 35-mile-an-hour run. And with just one successful bench test and a 1980s TV show to go on, they're taking no chances with safety.
There's still a lot that can go wrong, which is why we've done a bunch of safety procedures to make this as safe as possible. One, we've added a roll cage into this car. Two, we've added a 5-point safety harness so that if I roll, I'm not going anywhere. And finally, I'm wearing a helmet.
This is it. Test time.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
But just as they get underway, it starts raining, making the road and ramp slick, and the challenge just that little bit tougher.
While Adam is driving up into the back of this truck, hopefully, I'm going to be driving right alongside with Mike, who will be coaching Adam in case he sees something going wrong.
Adam accelerates, approaching his target speed.
We're at 25, going to 30. We're at 35 miles an hour.
He takes his time getting precisely in line with the ramp. And when he's close enough, Mike gives him the cue.
Okay, let's go for it.
Look at that.
Well done. Well done.
The high-speed camera captures the crucial moment. As the wheels hit the ramp, they slow down significantly, which is where the clever science bit comes in. Any object in motion has a tendency to maintain a constant velocity. This law of inertia acts against the acceleration of the car as it hits the stationary ramp, slowing the car to a crawl and giving Adam plenty of time to stop.
That worked beautifully! That was a cinch! That was so easy!
Which means there's only one thing for it. They're going the whole Hoff.
I feel like I'm ready to go to 60.
Let's make it 55. That's the legal speed limit, I think, on these things.
Perfect. Let's do it.
All right.
Making it safely up that 6-foot gap at 55 miles per hour is a tougher proposition than 35. And the rain is coming down harder.
Let's do it.
Adam guns the engine and hits the speed ceiling quickly.
We're at 55 right now.
55.
Jamie and Mike are once again in support, unless he crashes. Then he's on his own.
Bring it on. Be careful, brother.
Look at that. Good job.
Once again, Adam made it look easy. The increased velocity didn't change a thing. The wheels hit the ramp. The car's inertia prevents any crazy acceleration. and Adam parks it.
Nice, man. Good job.
Great. Awesome. Dude, that was scary.
Yeah, that was pretty, I was a little nervous there watching you do that.
With the myth confirmed, there's only one thing left to do. It's Jamie's turn.
This is Jamie. I'm good to go. Over.
And he's going to prove that whatever Adam can do,
Holding.
he can do backwards.
Nice work, Heinemann.
Move over the Hoff. The Heinemann is here.
So the truck ramp Knight Rider sequence all worked like a charm. I mean, we were able to do everything we tried to do.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things I love most about doing this show is the weird skills we get to learn, like stunt driving.
I don't know when I'm going to have a chance to use it next, but it's nice to know how to do.
Exactly. And the Knight Rider ramp drive-up, totally confirmed.
It worked. Confirmed.
Coming right up,
How you doing, buddy?
Ballistics Buster feels the full force of the exploding tire of death. There's no doubt about it. Tires can provide hours of entertainment. But can these innocent rubber donuts become lethal killing machines? Well, not if the MythBusters are anything to go by. Their dynamometer tests sure burnt some rubber. But Buster came out unscathed.
I have to admit, I'm disappointed. I really wanted to see our rig make a truck tire fail under pressure at highway speeds.
Well, you know, I felt the same way at first, too, but after thinking about it, the tire disintegrated exactly the way it would on the highway at those speeds.
Right.
The only thing we really did not get while we were out there was seeing an impact from some of those frags into a dummy.
Suppose that's what we do now. We take our biggest chunk of rubber, we calculate the speed it left our rig at, and here in the shop, we fire it at that speed into a head and see what kind of damage it would do.
Okay, I think we can modify the same rig that we had to do specifically that, to aim it right at a head, and then we'll know whether it works or not.
I think it's a terrific way to finish this up.
All right, let's do it.
Terrific indeed. The plan is to hoist up the pickup truck and sit the drive wheel on another freely spinning wheel. Then a piece of big rig tire will be placed between the wheels. And when the pickup revs up, the tire will be shot out the other side towards Buster. So, fresh from the mud, the pickup is driven into place.
Looks good, looks good. Looks good. I'm here for you, buddy.
Okay.
An upturned trailer will provide the lower spin wheel for their rubber chucker. Adam and Jamie slide it into place beneath the pickup truck.
I swear, this is the perfect height. Now, one thing we need to remember is the proclivity of your forklift to drift, so we'll want to put one of those farm stands underneath it or something.
So, Jamie welds some crossbars for stability, and their rough and ready rubber chucker is up and running.
This whole thing is another lesson in not messing around. I mean, we have a trailer, we have a truck, we got power, we have wheels. Let's just kind of like put one here, put one there, and we'll shoot some tire rubber.
Adam is going to be the driver in charge of the speed at which the wheels spin.
20, 25, 30.
And when he hits 40, Jamie will feed a strip of rubber that came off their earlier big rig blowout between the wheels.
40!
A hole-in-one on their test board. Adam can barely contain himself.
Wow, there's nothing left but to get this test set up with the head and just go. That is awesome. this one was going 40 miles an hour, which is, by the best math that we could do on its trajectory and the height it went in the air, about how fast that piece of rubber was going when it left our truck out at the range. So if this beheads the guy, I'd say this myth is confirmed.
The human analog for the beheading guy has been molded from ballistics gel with a pig spine neck bone.
Look at that. That's Grant with a spine. How you doing, buddy?
Adam and Jamie place him directly in the path of the tire belt.
We've seen that there's a lot of energy contained in these tires when they're spinning. And if they disintegrate, they can throw pieces of themselves at high velocity. So this test is going to see whether these tires can penetrate a car window, whether they can actually break someone's neck. That's effectively what the myth is about.
With the potential power of this rig, Adam and Jamie are taking things to the extreme. Gone is Biker Buster. And instead, they'll be firing a tire belt at 40 miles per hour through a car window at the driver's head.
Okay, well, let's fire the truck up and see what this puppy will do.
Right. That was awesome, dude.
Amazingly, an almost total headlock. First time at the plate.
His neck is broken.
Oh, he's killed. He's completely dead.
Well, pulled his spine out of his head.
Anyone coming upon this scene of an accident would say the body was beheaded.
And any chances for recovery are going, gone. Viewed on high speed, the force of the impact is frightening, and it's clear that the only driving our ballistics gel dummy would be doing is in a hearse.
Oh, it's a perfect hit. That's it. Hit. Oh my God. I mean, it's like there's nothing there. Final wrap up. What's the verdict on exploding truck tires?
There's not really any two ways about it. If this thing hits you at 40 miles an hour or some other highway speed, they could cut your head off. It's confirmed.
I totally agree. Confirmed.